Hey, 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 welcome to the Virgo channel. My name is Laura, if you knew the channel, and I am going to do a general message for my winner. I don't know if she's probably not on, and actually anyone that lands on this message that resonates, because all spiritual energy works like a magnet. It goes to who and what needs to hear the message. So know that energy is fluid, roles could be reversed. You may need to flip it, you may need to switch it. Just interpret the message as it best resonates with you. And the reason why, what you'll notice a lot of times too, is the person that's most obsessive, that's the person that needs to hear the message. The person that's really focused on what's going on, especially in love relationships, how that can happen, right? We pull in soulmates into our life, and those soulmates can trigger us, but they also come into our life to teach us. Now, if you're new to the channel, know that I like to do shadow readings. I don't just look at what goes on the surface, like what your person thinking about you, what they did do, what they are going to do. No, we go much deeper. We look at the spiritual blocks. We look at the shadows. We see how they play out as karmic themes within your experience so that you can shape shift, so you can heal the effects of trauma, which will allow you to break karmic cycles that keep you in a place of disempowerment or whatever the spiritual block is. It could be shame, it could be victimization, it could be betrayal, any lower energy. So it is important for us to know what is going on the surface, but we want to really know why those things are happening, because you're pulling those situations and experiences into your life to teach you, to heal you, to help you evolve. You may say to evolve into what? Evolve into the highest state of consciousness, which is unconditional love. So you can become a magnet of unconditional love and attract everything that's in alignment with unconditional love. What happens is we are blocked to receiving. So this is a channel about healing. Now, if you want to enter into winning a free reading with me, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and write the word of the video in your comment bar. Like I said, this video is for my winner, and I'm waiting for her. So if you're on, let me know, because I do see that somebody's on. Excuse me, I just want to know whether you're not. You're on, just let me know. If my winner is on, just let me know. Say hey. Yeah, didn't want to say your name wrong. It's Jessica. Hey. All right, awesome. Okay, so I just wanted to make sure that you were on. So you just focus on what you want. You can write out questions if you want. A lot of times I will, just channel. I'm going to channel for you. But know this, that these readings are to help empower you, to help you heal you to really get what you want. See, there's many, and when I say that, get what you want, it's not like coming from an ego state. We're all allowed and supposed to want to be loved and to have love and to have abundance. I mean, the universe is abundant. We are part of the universe, so we are supposed to be abundant. The thing is that we're born into families and situations. And I feel like, again, Jessica, you were born into a family and situation, obviously, that made you not live from your higher self. And the higher self is the God part of self, and the God part of self is of unconditional love. So relationships, I feel like we're definitely going to look at, because it's like there's a sense of I can get what I want, I can never keep what I want, or it doesn't go the way that I want. So there's a sense of I'm not really feeling as if I can have it. Mainly focus on what I need to heal from, because it can't. Well, that's what happens is that when we have that trauma, it's because we now have formed. You're also doing as well as, oh, good, and nailing it. Okay, good. I just wanted to make sure that I'm tapping into that energy, because there's a sense of I feel like I I get what I want and then I lose it, or it's like I feel like I can't have it, but I know I can have it because I have glimpses of having it and then losing it. There's this energy, and that's a real bad second chakra imbalance. And a second chakra imbalance is, it talks about you, how you perceive yourself. And how you perceive yourself, I believe that you have blocks from how you grew up in childhood. And so everybody has shadows. Everybody has inner child wounds. Excuse me. It's about integrating those wounds. And so integration is when you are able to see a different, that it's when you do different things, incorporate different habits, different mindsets, different habits, different behaviorisms to get the result that you want. Because what you keep doing, you're doing unconsciously. And I feel like in relationships, what happens is that you have this energy where you tend to really want certain things and you try really hard to get them, and then once you get them, then you don't value it, you don't really want it. There's a sense of, I don't really know what I want. And it's like, so what happens is what's appealing to you is hard sometimes, if this makes sense. So then that's because it goes back to a second chakra imbalance. It's how you perceive yourself. And the second chakra is all about your unique individuality. And why this is important is you're a magnet of who and what you unconsciously perceive about yourself. It's like you're not doing this consciously. So, how did those programs come into play? Well, they were conditioned in childhood. And so they're playing out, and they're playing out as where you're feeling as if there's something wrong with you, even though that there's nothing wrong with you. And so you're an empath again, and that's you're a highly sensitive person. What does that mean? It means that you think a lot, and so you feel a lot. And when there's too much feeling and thinking, it creates overstimulation where now you don't know what you feel and think. And relationships are hard because you don't know whether it's your energy or their energy. And that goes for people too. If people have a very big personality for you, where they're very, this is bothering me, my hair. Look, my forehead looks like it's going back a million miles. When you when you are like, again, a highly sensitive person that grew up in an environment that didn't make you feel safe because you weren't allowed to have your unique unfoldment process. And the unique unfoldment process is, well, that's the way that I do things. We all have our own unique style, our own unique individuality. I feel like you were made to feel that there was something wrong with yours. So you inherited family karma. So, and you're a highly sensitive person. So an empath that's highly sensitive, that needs healing, has formed a lot of behaviorisms, a lot of habits that are going to be like outdated after a certain amount of time, right? Because you're not no longer living in the same environment. Those same people shouldn't, like, it's like the same, like you get triggered from the same experiences. So anything that represents love, anything that represents like you really being able to be happy and get what you want. So now these are the blocks, and it's due to, yes, your highly sensitive nature, but there's paradoxes to everything. So everything's perception is the way that we view it. So when you're healing a shadow, you have to have the awareness. And the awareness is, well, there was something wrong with me. I was defective. It made me feel like it was not good enough. And then my situations make me feel that way too, by the people that come into my life and how those themes play out that make me feel as if I'm a bad person or as if I did something wrong, when it's like I didn't do anything wrong unless I lose myself, and which empaths can fall prey to, again, molding to the environment, right? Because it's that. So then there's what's missing, your unique individuality. who does Jessica perceive she is when she looks in the mirror, or whoever looks in the mirror? Again, that's going to resonate with this. Um, is how you view yourself. So you view yourself as there certain things you like, and obviously certain things you're like, no, those are broken. And so you're like, but I'll meet someone else or I'll do something else. So you try to change the outward and not the inward. So when you're healing the inward, it means that anywhere where there's a shadow, which is shame, which this is how you felt, I feel like there's something wrong with me. So how that plays out is shame, but it's also victimization. You'll have people come into your life that do things unconscious, like either unconsciously or unconsciously to you, where you're like, why do I feel like people like to pick on me? Why do I feel like people like to? So we see what we look for. So unconsciously, that's a program. And so in order to heal that, you have to do something different. And so I always say, be like childlike, because children don't go out and have an expectation of who they are, what they like, what they're supposed to know, what they don't know. You were raised in that environment. If somebody, again, what's this? How come you don't know that? And you're like 7, and you're like, I'm sorry, I don't know how to like pay taxes. Like meaning unrealistic expectations, because it was the anxiety of that parent that you felt from a young child, like young age, that actually made you like take on that energy, because that's what empaths do. They take on the energy of the environment, and if they're in an environment with people that don't feel good about themselves at a young age, and that's they're going to have a lot of anxiety. is and so you inherited that, so that doesn't even belong to you. Spirit saying that's inherited. And so you would have to again recondition your body and mind, and that's through like, because you have to recondition the nervous system, because your body is your mind's faithful servant, and there's the disconnect there. So you attract people that are emotionally not capable of giving to you a lot of times, but then it's like you're not getting. Are you following me? This is what spirit is saying, what the spiritual blocks are, what the inner child wounds are, why they are. See, we have to create the awareness. Why is this happening? Why? Because you have to override the logical, analytical mind. And the logical, analytical mind is all about the survival mind and the reptilian mind. So to bypass it, you have to logically like make sense of it. So there's the awareness. Where did this block come from? Why do I have it? Now, what is the behaviorism that I do that blocks me from being able to live the life that I want, to get what I want? And it's you again mold to the environment. When you mold to the environment, people are not going to like you. And so, as a highly sensitive person, as an empath, you have a rebel streak to you. You yes, you're very sweet, you're very nice, but you're also an empath, and empaths have they have like they could be a rebel there, and the reason why is because they change the world. And you say, how they change the world? I feel like I have a low self-esteem. Well, that's what you're integrating, where spirit says, well, I didn't make you that way, that came from the environment that you lived in. So you again adapted to that environment, you form behaviorisms, they're unconscious to you. You need to recondition that, otherwise you're going to stay stuck in a place of limitation, which is what you feel like. You're like, you can never advance, I can never go forward. It's like there's something wrong with me. And spirit says there's nothing wrong with you. Oh, good. You need to write all that, because all these comments go away after the live stream. And then the comments help me to like grow the channel, and I don't really understand why all the comments go away, but I'm glad that you're blown away. But that's spirit tells me what it is that you need to do and what happens. So you have to start in a place of faith. meaning you're gonna have to create a daily practice for yourself to help you recondition your body and mind, to integrate the body and mind. Because healing, again, when it doesn't feel good as an impact to feel somebody that has anxiety all the time around you, to always feel like you're doing everything wrong because that person has anxiety and they love you, but the way that they love you is to try and change you to their perception of what they perceive is good, is right, and just. And they were highly sensitive and they were told that there was something wrong with them. So they didn't want the same thing to happen to you. So it wasn't like that person was mean and hated you. It was like that was their personality, and that's what happened. And that's why it's ancestral karma. Because you're like, I don't even know why I have like this anxiety. And it's like because of that person. And so spirit says, as a little kid, to feel that all the time, you go up in your head. You're like, I don't want to feel it in my body because it doesn't feel good to feel somebody else's stress, to feel somebody else's shit. And so what happens is it becomes a survival mechanism where you feel it and then you react. And spirit says, that worked in childhood, but that's actually going to block you now from what you want, because you can't live from an automatic response that was built on that environment. You don't live in that environment anymore. You live in a new environment. That's why you have to recondition body and mind to get back together, because there's again a what am I talking about? There's I like a disconnect, and again from detachment, disassociation disorder. It's like what happens is like, again, the trauma is bad. I go up in my head. It's like, yeah, I know what's going on, but it's like I'm not, it's like I'm watching it instead of it's like I'm watching it happen to somebody else, if that makes sense. So that's why spirit says it's really important that you recondition it. And that's why I'm explaining it a lot, because if I don't emphasize it a lot, you'll be like, oh, well, I don't really need to do that. And spirit says, well, that's the whole thing. The healing doesn't feel good. It's like not going to feel good. That's why we're emphasizing it. It's like you have a block because you don't do it. And so you have to go get into your body. And so how you get into your body is through your passions, through the things which you love. Again, you want to become the vibration of love, to attract abundance. And that's only by becoming yourself. You'll never be able to set boundaries, appropriate boundaries, if you don't have something that you love. Yeah, that's what spirit said. Spirit tells me what you need. I'll pull a card here and there, but it's like spirit speaks to me directly. I don't need cards. Spirit descending. But we have to ground, and we have to ground. And even me, I have to ground through my unique process, where my unique process is just a channel where spirit says, I want you to use the cards. like, and so I'm using the cards because I have a shadow healing program. And shadow healing is all about integration. So you may be saying, well, now what? Now I'm an X old and I'm this, and spirit says, there's no mistakes. Everything's divine order. This is spirit descending. So when the student is ready, the teacher appears. When you're like, oh wow, this is touching on so many things, it's because you need to hear the message. So spirit's showing you that you can trust yourself, that the universe conspires to bring you exactly what you need, but you have to be grounded. And so when spirit descends, that's exactly what happens. It's that we're out of our head, get into our body, and only in the now do you get divine guidance through gut, intuition, inner knowing. You, as a highly sensitive person, tries to figure things out beforehand. And then you're like Miss Detective and you don't have healing. So you're seeing things through a distorted perception in your relationship. And then people think you're crazy. And so you went from a really sweet, nice person to really crazy person. And it's because, again, of the anxiety and not really you. So this is why you're like, well, is it me? And spirit says, well, it kind of is you now, but not because you're a bad person. And it's like, because then you get emotional. And, people can't deal with the emotions that well. They feel really uncomfortable around it. So it's about not what you say, it's how you say it. It's like it's okay to set boundaries because you're like, well, then I say something and then I'm seen as crazy, but then I don't do anything and then I'm seen as this. And Spirit says, it's not what you say, it's how you say. And it's not about being in the moment. You're like, well, I can't help it. And Spirit says, me first. I'm a jealous God. That's through you first because I'm inside of you as a gift of spirit. And that means be like childlike, have a love affair with yourself. Where's your passion? Is this person your passion? You're looking for your passion. That's the problem. Passion is through creating yourself. Spirit descending, that's what it means. The higher self, the God part of self. What connects you to the higher self is your passion for life. That's why they say Jesus died for your passion for life, because that's how you get your daily bread. That's how you get your money. It's that you're having fun, that you become a magnet for unconditional love by doing what you love. So you're like, well, I don't know what it is. And Spirit says, you know what it is. It's all these healing things that you've been on. It's the search. You know what it is. It's like, but you're like, no, but I can't have that. And Spirit says, you see all that shit? All of that is what needs to go. It's the, I don't have it. It's not enough. It's not good enough. I'm not enough. I don't know where to start. And that's the grounding. And Spirit says, well, you start where you are. And this is a root chakra imbalance, which means that you're not utilizing what's in your environment to help you become yourself, to create yourself. And so what happens is you try to figure out things ahead of time, or you make that relationship your whole self. See, to be able to go with the flow of life, it means you're able to go with whatever is going on in your life because you have a passion for life. That's what that poem Footprints represents. When you're like, whose footprints are those on the beach? When God says, those were my footprints. Well, it's through your passion, through the things that you love, through doing what you love, becoming what you love, becoming the highest vibration, so that the universe, which is God, which is you, well, it conspires to bring you exactly what you need. People, situations, experiences that are going to change your mind and your heart about how you perceive yourself, how you perceive other people. And that's it's really important. Otherwise, you won't heal. You'll keep replaying and those same scenarios, which is why you're like, I feel stuck. It's like, then that's what Spirit is saying. So Spirit always wants me to channel to you first. And I feel like because people have issues, and this, like, I never take this card out because I always feel like it adds like an extra like element, right? It's like it's because at first I thought it was part of the cards because I have a card like this, but it's not. That's my Joker card, and I always think that that's like somebody that could become a chameleon, an empath, someone that is um, someone that's more of someone that doesn't have an identity, right? Because that's what a chameleon is. Chameleon will mold to whatever the environment is to be liked, to be accepted, to be, and so where Spirit's saying, this is what needs to go. It's like, where's your unique individuality? Because you can't set boundaries with people unless you have something that you love that's yours. It's like when you're living your bliss, that's how you're living. You're living through the higher self. And the higher self is that spirit part of self that will like lead you through your intuition. So where you're like, I'm trying to figure it out in my mind, my logically, it doesn't work that way. You're not going to get anywhere. You know, it works through intuition, inner knowing, and you're an empath. So it doesn't make sense that, well, why aren't you receiving that? And that's because of the anxiety. And that's because, again, you're not creating yourself. And so you stay imbalanced. Now, ask me whatever questions you want me to answer because I'm just going to channel otherwise. And Spirit will answer questions for you, whatever those questions are, but we'll always only channel out a lot of times what needs to be healed, what you need to do to fix it, because all the other stuff is ego and it's irrelevant, but it can be answered. And that's why I like to say, if you have any questions, please. I know that a lot of times there's commercials on and I don't see it. The genius, and the genius is that spirit part of self, and that spirit part of self is again that higher self. So you got two cards like that. The genius is that creative genius, and that's through our unique individuality, which spirit says, that's what's missing. You're like chameleon because that was a survival mechanism in childhood. So it's about becoming yourself, and it's about by doing what you want so spirit can descend. So then I'm bringing you the people that are going to conspire to bring you exactly what you need to heal you, to change you, to grow you. Otherwise, you won't be able to move forward. You won't be able to, like, it's like, or you'll attract people that you always feel like you have to compromise, where you're like, oh, well, it's nice, but it's like, I'm still not getting 100% what I want. And there's always that energy until you fully integrate. Like I said, ask me whatever questions you want to ask, because otherwise I'm just going to pull random spiritual cards. Yes, I do. I am wondering about my current relationship too. Great. Bullying. Look at that. That's what I was saying. Like it goes. Oh, like it go, or to keep. Oh, to like have it or keep it. Well, I feel like the relationship isn't a bad relationship. It's just what happens is if that's the only thing on the menu, right? If that's the only thing on the menu, then it's going to be shit after a while. And that's why your reading started. I told you, I channeled that out in the beginning. I said, you get things and it stays for a certain amount of time and then it doesn't. And that's because it's like you can't set appropriate boundaries because you feel what they want, and then there's a sense of either compromising or then overgiving or then not still not getting what you need emotionally, so you're still reliving that same karmic thing that you grew up in. And so you're like, but sometimes it is really good. So you're like, sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. Oh no, don't apologize. Don't apologize. I just needed to let you know, like, that spirit is saying the issue is not the person. The issue, believe it or not, is you. Now it doesn't mean, and it doesn't mean that this person doesn't do anything wrong. What it means is the dynamic of your relationship, because of what it is. If you're not living your best self, your highest self, you're going to give way too much to this person. So imagine chocolate ice cream's your favorite ice cream. You eat it all day long, every single day. That's the only treat you have, nothing else. Eventually, you'd hate chocolate ice cream. You'd be like, this chocolate ice cream gets on my nerves, not chocolate ice cream again. Yeah, well, so that I'm glad that you understand, like, about how it all puts together. So now, like, the thing is, if you only have that chocolate ice cream, like, let's just say you have a little scoop every night after dinner, but you were really busy all day today. You had a lot of different foods, and different foods are not that you have a different bunch of different lovers. What it means, or a bunch of different jobs, it means you have a lot of different interactions. You have a lot of different things. There's a lot of hours in the day. To be fully balanced, you need to invest time in yourself first by growing yourself. So that might be, I listen to self-help, I do meditation, I do breath work. With these things you need to do, because again, you're reconditioning the body and mind. You need to create that daily practice to help you get a better connection to the physical body. So you get a better connection to the physical world, all the physical elements of the world, but also you get grounded to spirit. Ground spirit inside of yourself, because only in the now do you get divine guidance. And otherwise, there's always a detachment and always feeling like, well, I'm trying to navigate things through my mind. And but though that has been programmed already. So you have to reprogram that. And the way that we do it is not by trying to like change ourselves, but by becoming ourselves. It's like the more good things that you do for yourself, such as there's a lot of hours in the day doing going taking care of your physical health, your spiritual health, then having friends, hobbies, interests, and then having your boyfriend. Now your boyfriend only gets one slice of pie. He doesn't get half the pie. He only gets one slice. So he's going to appreciate you a lot more. You're not running around cheating. This person may get triggered and be like, well, what the fuck, dude? She's never around. But eventually, what he'll see is after a time that he can actually be in a relationship that is not triggering, that you can have a conversation where the conversation is not about go automatically go into an argument where the person like is afraid that you're going to change them. So what it is you're saying, I don't give a shit whether you do it or you don't. But guess what? If you don't do it, eventually you'll probably be replaced, because my life is really rich and full. And I don't really have time to argue with you or compromise about your bullshit, that you're afraid that you got issues, that you got problems. Because bottom line is, you had all this shit before you met me, but then when you came in and you acted like a fucking normal person. Now what happened? You all of a sudden became like mentally challenged because now we're in a relationship. And that's because they get freaked out. It's like too much. Where you're an empath, too much. It's like you're like, well, either too much or not enough. And Spirit says, yeah, there needs to be the balance. And Spirit said the reason why is because you have to become yourself again. The genius, the creative genius is all about becoming yourself and utilizing your gifts. If you're an empath, those are gifts. Instead of looking at them like they're bad, they're not bad. You can use your sensitivity to be a healer, to be a good counselor. You could use your sensitivity to be a private investigator. Again, the highly sensitive people are more accurate, and they're because they're more thorough. They look at things from every single direction. Then they internalize, and then thinking about it more, and then intuitively, and then logically. So they're bright, they're smart, but it's about feeding yourself, growing yourself, loving yourself. That sets the boundaries for people. Why? Because if you're really loving yourself, and this person, I was going to say, and this jerk off comes into your life, a guy comes into your life, or a girl for that matter, or anybody comes into your life, and they're going to disrespect you. They're not going to make you feel that great. They're not going to make, you're going to say, let me see. I can either do what I love, or I could be with this asshole. Well, it's like a no-brainer. Eventually, you're like, I'm really sorry, Carol. I can't go with you to bingo Wednesday, or I can't take you, Martha, to the doctors, or I can't because I have other things. And it's the same when you get into an argument with a guy. It's like, I don't have time for your shit, or it's like, because I'm going here. And then what happens is, what you'll notice is, if that person's really unfair, what I've noticed is that the universe then conspires to make things look a certain way. So what that'll be is, you get into an argument with somebody that's like, they're not changing. They want things their way, and their way is so not fair. It makes me feel as if I have to undervalue myself, which is your story pretty much. Makes me feel as if I like that I can't have really what I want. It keeps me in a place of limitation in order to make this person feel better about themselves. So we already know that that's two different vibrations. And so even if you're like, but they're a soulmate, well, again, there's passion, and because Spirit brings people into our lives to teach us, to heal us. And if that person's triggering you, they shouldn't be able to. So you're living out of balance. And if this person is getting away with it, well, that's because you're giving in. So you have to make them eat the karma, and you make them eat the karma by having a love affair in your own life. Then what happens is, if this person tends to pull their shit where they don't want to agree, well, you're like, well, you know what? I'm going square dancing, or I'm going tango lessons, or I'm going whatever the fuck you're into. I'm into painting with a twist. I don't care. Whatever it is, I'm going to do this instead. I'm like, there, you don't fight. You just, I'll talk to you later. I'll talk to you when you're fair. You go out with your friends. You go out and have a good time. What happens is that person still, if there is this real soul connection, that person loves you, unconditional love. You can't manipulate that. You can't change that. The ego gets involved. So by you detaching and being like, yo, I'm going to go over here, when you like put your head on straight or take it out of your ass, one or the other, you can come back and find me, but I'm going to be over here. What'll happen is, when they come and find you, you'll be walking out of the place laughing. There'll be people around you. You'll be walking arm in arm with a person. They might be gay, they might be straight, who the fuck cares? But all this person sees is you didn't give a shit that they were not in your life. That tames that ego. That's saying, telling that person, you know what? You may like me, you may love me, I may love you, but I'm not an asshole. I'm not gonna put up with your shit. You act all afraid. No, you act all afraid. All of a sudden you're afraid. You weren't afraid 10 minutes ago when you met me. Now all of a sudden we've taken it to the next level. We slept together, whatever the fuck it is. Now all of a sudden you have a problem. You all of a sudden eliminate that problem when you are so invested in your life, which is what was missing, which is what the block is, which we talked about, the shadows. Well, then that's why. And now this person is like not really eating the karma. You're eating the karma, and you're like, I'm the nice one. It's like this person's being unfair. And Spirit says, so you're reliving that same karmic theme, which is, well, it makes me feel like I can't have, it makes me feel like I'm not good enough, which is like the wounded healer, which is what I was saying about the empath, where you have to become the empowered empath, which is, you know what, like, I don't get my happiness from you, Joe or Bob or whatever the fuck your name is. It's like my happiness comes from me. It's like, so you'll be replaced, because as long as I'm vibing high, people are attracted to me. People are coming into my life, because you can't train the ego alone. The universe has to help you. And that's what people don't understand. Otherwise, you're continuously trying to strategize, which you can't do that, because that's their language. That's the ego's language. And that's where people that need healing tend to be. They're in their ego. So you can't like go at them the same way that they're coming at you. You got to go from the higher self, the God part of self, which is, I got to give myself self love. I'm not going to pay attention to this. You want me all wrapped up in your drama, make me crazy, make me stuck, and then not give me anything. Not going to do it. I'm going to be having a love affair in myself, because guess what? Eventually that person's going to be like, I'm an asshole because that person's over here, over there having a good old time with, I think, Frank or Bob. It's like, and then that triggers their ego. Who's that fucking guy? Huh, I look better than that. Like, and they start to judge. Or girls do the same thing. It's like, we're really, that's what trains the ego, that you've diffused it. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to navigate the relationship. And that's going to be what always happens. And that's how Spirit was saying, can get what you want, but you feel like you can't maintain what you want. And that's because of the same problem, which is, about creating yourself, because money has no energy except for the energy you're giving it. So if you haven't become yourself, haven't done those things for yourself, well, then you're not going to. And for you as an empath, it's really about like creating yourself. The genius is that, the creative genius is through your passions for life, like what calls you, what stirs your heart up, what connects you to people. And only you're going to know that. Whether you lose your time, your energy, your focus, and your money, those are your energies, and they need to be put to the things and the situations that are going to make you happy. And the people that don't, that's where the boundary comes into place. And if someone really likes you, believe me, they catch on real quick, because what's happening is they see you don't give a shit. And that pisses them off, because they're like, wait a minute, I thought we had this connection. I thought they were going to act like how everyone else acts. Nope, not like that. And really, when you think about it, love is supposed to bring people to the higher self. That's what love does. And the higher self is just that unconditional love. That's what we're born with. We're born into environments and families that make us not. And we talked about that in the beginning of your reading, where they came from, why, and what you need to do to integrate them. Otherwise, you, unfortunately, you'll still like continue to live out the same type of karmic themes. And that's why, because that's actually the worst type of block to have, that second chakra block. It's like where it's like, I don't like who I am. It's like, well, then you're going to get people that say that they love you, but they're not going to act like they love you. And that's going to keep you in a place again of feeling like, well, I can't have it. Where Spirit says, you can have it, but I need to see you have it. Now, did you have any other questions? Does anyone have any questions? They can feel free to ask me. Since I'm doing my winner chicken dinner, as Ramblin' Mike says. I used to go to Ramblin' Mike when he worked in the flea market, St. Augustine Flea Market. He was charging $10 a reading. And I told him, you need to go on YouTube. And he became a YouTube star. It was like, but that's one of his favorites. So if anyone has any questions, you have any questions, please feel free to ask. I don't know, there might be a commercial. Sometimes there's a long pause before. Otherwise, opinionated is the word. So we could say that a lot of times when we are, brought up in an environment with people that are very opinionated, that's where the blocks come from. And so caring, again, too much about what other people think will help, definitely, if you're an empath, make you mold to that environment, make you mold into the same situations. But if and no one has any other questions, I am gonna log off. I don't know whether you touched on a lot of things for me. I don't quite have much questions at the moment. Okay, well, was it helpful at least? If it was helpful and it did its job, that's all that I care about. And I'm glad, because that's what soul readings do. Soul readings are shadow readings that help you heal. Thank you so much. It was most definitely very helpful. That's great. And if you have any questions, you could always feel free to jump on line when I'm doing a live just like this. And at the end of a reading, I always invite people to be able to ask questions, because shadow readings really do answer the questions. They just answer the questions through the healing, because they're more ethical, because there's many different realities that play out at one time. And if this is a shadow healing channel, well, I have to tell you the reality that's going to be best for you, not the reality that you're not the shit one. It's like, I don't want to live that horrible one, or that I want to be in a better place. That's why I'm getting the reading. I want awareness. I want to know how to get what I want, if I can. And of course you can. If any situation comes into your life, you can have it. But it's the way that you deal with it. It's what you choose to do. And so it's all about awareness here. And that's really, you are your own healer. I'm just a conduit for spirit to speak. I want to thank you for joining the channel, and thank everyone else too for tuning in. And I'll talk to you all soon. Bye.